afternoon. I will keep my remarks very brief so that we can take as many of your questions as possible. You know, when I was a little girl, my mother said to me one Sunday morning, "What you are is God's gift to you. What you make of yourself is your gift to God." And I have learned over the course of my life, whether it is in business or in charity or in policy, that everyone all over the world, everyone in fact, truly does have God-given gifts. That everyone has potential, usually far more than they realize. I'm also keenly aware, having traveled and lived and worked all over the world, that my story is only possible in this country. I did indeed graduate from Stanford University, but with a degree in medieval history and philosophy. So, all dressed up, nowhere to go, highly educated, unemployable, I went back to work doing full-time what I had done part-time to put myself through school. I became a secretary for a little 9-person real estate firm. It is only in this country that a young woman can start out typing and filing and answering the phones, go on, eventually, to become the chief executive officer of what we turned into the largest technology company in the world, and run for the presidency of the United States. That's only possible here. And it's possible here because our founders knew what my mother taught me, that everybody has God-given gifts. Our founders knew what I have learned throughout my life, that everyone has potential. And they built a nation on this really radical idea at the time, and it's visionary still. The idea was that here, in this nation, you have a right to fulfill your potential, to find and use your God-given gifts. They expressed that as the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they said, and this was the radical part, that the right to fulfill your potential comes from God and cannot be taken away by man or government. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running for the presidency of the United States because I think we have come to a pivotal point in our nation's history where the potential of too many Americans, and indeed the potential of this great nation, is being crushed by the weight, the power, the cost, the complexity, the ineptitude, and the corruption of the federal government of this nation, and by a political class that will do nothing about it. And this actually isn't a partisan comment. 75% of the American people now think the federal government is corrupt. You know what that number means? It means it's Republicans and Democrats and independents, it's young and old, it's men and women. 82% of the American people now believe we have a professional political class that is more concerned with the protection of its own power, position, privilege than on getting anything done. And whatever issue you care most about, whatever your cause, whatever festering problem you hope will be resolved by now, pick it. Securing the border, serving our veterans, dealing with the tax code, finally dealing with debts and deficits. Whatever your issue, whatever your cause, whatever your festering problem you hope will be resolved, the political class has failed us. I believe we need a very different kind of leadership in the White House now. There are lots of people who operate within the status quo. They're called managers. There are managers in business, there are managers in politics. There are people who don't challenge the status quo, they operate within the status quo. They don't challenge the system, they do the best they can within the system. And a lot of those people have benefited from the system, so they're not going to take it on. But that is not what leadership is. A leader's job is to challenge the status quo. A leader's job is to challenge the system. And most importantly of all, a leader's job is to unlock potential in others. And now I think we need a leader who will unlock the potential of this great nation. I am reminded of something that a great hero of mine once said. Margaret Thatcher once said to her countrymen at a pivotal point in their history, "I am not content to manage the decline of a great nation." Ladies and gentlemen, neither am I. And I think we have been managing the decline of a great nation for far too long. I am prepared, however, with your help, your support, your votes, your prayers, to lead the resurgence of this great nation. A leader now is necessary to win this election. Yep, we got to win in 2016, but we also need a leader who can do the job. And I think what the job takes now is a leader who understands how the economy actually works. She must understand how the world works and who's in the world. The truth is, I know more world leaders on the stage today than anyone running, with the possible exception of Hillary Clinton, and I didn't do photo ops. I had private meetings with kings and prime ministers and premiers all over the world. And so I know from personal experience that when we do not lead, when we do not stand with our allies and confront our adversaries, that the world is a more dangerous and a more tragic place. Our president must understand bureaucracies and how to hold them accountable and cut them down to size, because our federal government now is one gigantic, bloated, inept, corrupt bureaucracy that spends more of your money every single year and serves you less. She needs to understand technology, because technology is a tool. It's a tool that we can use to re-engage citizens in the process of our government, but it's also a weapon being used against them. And finally, she needs to understand leadership. That actually leadership is not about power, it's not about position, it's not about title, it's not about how big your office is, how big your airplane is, or even how big your helicopter is. Leadership is about unlocking potential in others. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to take your questions.